Hey everybody, today I'm reviewing episode 2 of She-Hulk. The first episode was her origin, which I could be wrong, but I believe that's the quickest origin story that we've gotten in the MCU. The episode ended with her prosecuting the company GLKH, another law firm, when the superhuman Titania, who it turns out is an internet influencer, interrupts the case before she is quickly defeated by She-Hulk. Fun fact, the first three names in the law firm, Goodman, Lieber, and Kurtzberg, is a reference to the three founders of Marvel Comics, Martin Goodman, Stan Lee, born Stanley Lieber, and Jack Kirby, born Jacob Kurtzberg. So this episode mainly has her dealing with the fallout of her coming out as She-Hulk. It's mostly positive, with many in the public praising her actions and giving her the name She-Hulk, and even her getting free drinks at a bar because of her new identity. Which reminds me of a scene from issue 20 of Savage She-Hulk where she is hounded by reporters at a cafe, although in that story her reaction was much more hostile. She ends up getting fired from her job as the deputy district attorney because her being the She-Hulk and saving the jury from Titania, while it was the right thing to do, it was also seen as something that could influence the jury's decision. This and the fact that she is basically a superhero makes her a liability, not only getting her fired, but preventing her from getting a job at pretty much any other law firm. She ends up attending a family dinner where we meet Ched, who was mentioned in episode 1. I think he's like a cousin or something. He's not a character from the comics and he really doesn't matter. The interesting part of this scene is that they changed her parents. They still have the same names, but in the comics, Jen's mother is dead and her dad is the chief of LA County Police. So it was pretty weird seeing them in this incarnation. She ends up getting hired by Holden Holloway, the man she was in court against in the last episode, who is the head of GLK&H. And she accepts the job at a bar without even knowing what the job is, which I think is pretty stupid. And when she shows up to work, she is unhappy to learn that they only hired her for her She-Hulk persona, as they want her to be the premier lawyer for their new superhuman law division. Which makes me wonder if at some point during the series they're going to address the Sokovia Accords from Captain America Civil War. Another downside for her new employment is that she has to take on Emil Blonsky, the Abomination, who, if you didn't watch the Incredible Hulk film from 2009, was the villain. Now, in this episode, Blonsky is in human form, and he's seemingly reformed into this zen, devil-may-care kind of guy who writes haikus, which I absolutely hate. Why did Marvel have to turn the two most monstrous characters in the universe into peace-loving hipsters? I'm hoping that this is just a long con, and that once he gains his freedom, he'll become a villain again. The episode ends with Jen watching the news and seeing footage of Abomination in the underground fighting ring from Shang-Chi, which means this series takes place at roughly the same time as that movie, placing it fairly early in the Phase 4 timeline. And then the post-credits scene is just She-Hulk helping her family with chores around the house, which is pretty boring. The Hulk had less than 2 minutes of screen time in this episode, and I think we'll be getting much less in the future. Bruce is seen heading into space on the Sakaran ship, which tells me that we are likely not seeing him again. Perhaps they're pulling another Age of Ultron where he won't be seen on Earth for a few years. However, with him going to Sakaar, does this mean we could see a true Planet Hulk story, maybe even leading to World War Hulk? If that's the case, then I am fine with him leaving the show for now, but only time will tell. So there were a few things that I didn't like about this episode. One was there was a fair amount of fourth wall breaking and self-aware jokes about superheroes, like the fact that she's derivative of the Hulk, or that so many heroes happen to be orphans. And none of the jokes were bad, far from it. Problem is that with the MCU constantly injecting an unnecessary amount of humor in all of their plots, these She-Hulk jokes just don't stand out like they should. One of the other things was the portrayal of two of the characters, those being Emil Blonsky and her dad Morris Walters. Again, Emil Blonsky was a bad guy in The Incredible Hulk. In this episode, he pretended like he was coerced by the government into becoming Abomination, but in reality he did it all to himself. And in the comics, Blonsky was pretty much a villain for the rest of his life after becoming Abomination. He also couldn't transform back into human form. For the sake of continuity and faithfulness to the comics, but also for the plot, I think it would have been better had Blonsky remained a villain, because it would have caused Jen to face a greater moral dilemma in having to take on his case, providing her an opportunity to face a real struggle, perhaps making the wrong choice, but learn her lesson and do the right thing in the end. Instead, she just goes along with Blonsky's change of heart and has little actual hesitancy when she's telling Bruce that she took on the case. It's a real missed opportunity in my opinion. In the comics, Morris is a serious, hard-charging chief of the LA County Police Department. He not only instilled his sense of justice in Jennifer Walters, but there's also some tension to their relationship in the first volume of She-Hulk due to them having become somewhat estranged since the death of her mother. Her mother having been killed by hitmen hired by Nick Trask, a mobster who had crossed paths with her father and whose hit on Jennifer Walters actually led to her becoming She-Hulk in the first place. Dealing with Nick Trask and other mobsters was a big part of the Savage She-Hulk story and would have been cool to see in the show, as it would have made the plot much more exciting. Further distance was created between her and her father, partially due to some of the clients she was taking on as a lawyer, such as the living vampire Michael Morbius, who was known as a murderer, as well as her transformation into She-Hulk, which at first made her behave somewhat erratically. Morris Walters also had it out for She-Hulk because he believed that she had committed murder, though she was actually framed. This created a really interesting dynamic between the two, and it wasn't until the end of the first She-Hulk run that he learns her true identity and they make up. Again, I think this is a real missed opportunity to add an exciting plotline to the show. Now, would these have added too many plots to the show and taken away from the courtroom drama stuff? Maybe. However, the creative team behind the show admitted that the writers were not good at writing a compelling courtroom drama, so I'm not sure what they were thinking. This episode was better than the first, though it was also a mixed bag. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with that first episode, but there wasn't a single moment during this one that made me want to roll my eyes. It was a night and day difference. However, that's partly because there wasn't much to react to. Half the episode was just people eating and drinking or doing other mundane tasks. While we may have moved on from the cringe, She-Hulk still lacks a real struggle, which makes me struggle to care. It's sad that a positive review of a show should come from the fact that there just wasn't much to react to. But let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of my content, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Also hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. I'll see you all next time. Bye.